Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive into orthopedic biomaterials. Now this one's based on the OrthoMade Simple Notes for the website mokyingren.sg, put together by Dr. Mok Ying Ren, a sports surgeon over at National University Hospital in Singapore, who aced his FRCS back in 2022.
Right.
So we're going to get you prepped for your big exams.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so let's start with metals.
Okay.
When I see those shiny implants in the OR, I always wonder what exactly goes into making them, what makes them so strong and suitable for what we do.
Well, it all starts with how we process those metals. Think of it like training for a marathon. You don't just jump into the race, right?
Right.
You need to prepare your body, build strength and endurance. Same with metals. We use different techniques, like cold working, annealing, forging, and alloying to give them the properties we need for their jobs.
Okay, so it's all about manipulating the metal structure to get the desired outcome. Let's start with cold working.
Oh.
I remember hearing that term being thrown around, but what does it actually involve?
Cold working, or strain hardening, is basically like making the metal work out. You deform it at a low temperature, and it becomes stronger and more rigid. Picture it like this. You keep bending a paperclip back and forth. Eventually, it becomes harder to bend and might even snap. That's strain hardening in action. It's great for increasing strength, but the metal can become less flexible.
So that explains why some implants are so rigid. It makes sense you want them to hold everything in place. But what about those cases where you need a bit more flexibility, like with a plate that needs to contour to the bone?
That's where annealing comes in. It's like giving the metal a relaxing spa day. We heat it up and then slowly cool it down. This allows the metal to rearrange its structure, making it softer and more ductile. Think of a warm, stretchy yoga session for the metal.
Annealing. Got it. So it's like choosing the right workout for the metal, depending on the job it needs to do.
Exactly.
What about forging and alloying? What roles do they play in this metal manipulation process?
Forging is all about shaping the metal. It's like taking a lump of clay and molding it into a beautiful vase. We use pressure to force the metal into the desired shape, which can also make it stronger. Now, alloying is like adding secret ingredients to our recipe. We mix different metals together to create alloys with enhanced properties, for example. Adding chromium to steel makes it more resistant to corrosion, which is essential for implants that'll be living inside the body for years.
So forging shapes it, and alloying enhances it.
That's it.
Got it. Now let's get specific. What about stainless steel?
Okay.
It seems like the classic orthopedic metal.
It is a classic for good reason. You're probably familiar with the 316L stainless steel. It's biocompatible, meaning it plays nicely with the body.
Right.
And it's relatively inexpensive. But there's a catch. It can be prone to corrosion, especially in the harsh environment of the body.
Corrosion. That doesn't sound good.
No, it's not ideal. It can weaken the implant and even release metal ions into the body. To combat this, we've got alloys like Orthonox, which replaces some of the nickel with nitrogen to boost strength and reduce the risk of allergies. That iron chromium M&C mnemonic will come in handy here, remember that.
Absolutely. It's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to remember all these details for the exams.
Yeah.
Now, what about cobalt chrome?
Okay.
I know it's often used in joint replacements. Why is that?
Cobalt chrome is incredibly strong and wear-resistant, making it perfect for those high-stress bearing surfaces in hips and knees. It can handle all those years of walking, running, and dancing.
Sounds like the ideal material. Are there any downsides?
Well, one thing to watch out for is galvanic corrosion, especially when you're using it with other metals like titanium. Imagine them having a little electrochemical battle inside the body. Not what we want.
That makes sense. So it's all about choosing the right metal for the right job, considering both its strengths and weaknesses, and of course, avoiding any metal-on-metal conflicts. Now, what about titanium? It's often hailed as the wonder metal of orthopedics, isn't it?
Titanium is pretty amazing. One of its biggest advantages is that it has a Young's modulus that's closer to bone than stainless steel or cobalt chrome. This means it flexes more like natural bone, reducing the risk of stress shielding.
Stress shielding, what's that?
Imagine you have a really strong friend who always carries all the heavy bags. You might start to rely on them so much that your own muscles get weaker, right?
Right.
It's similar with implants. If the implant is too stiff, it takes on too much of the load, and the bone underneath can start to weaken.
So titanium's flexibility helps the bone stay strong and healthy. Are there any concerns with using titanium?
There are a couple of things to keep in mind. First, titanium is more notch sensitive than other metals, meaning it's prone to cracking if there are any sharp edges or imperfections. Second, there's the issue of vanadium, which is present in the commonly used 6Al4V alloy.
Vanadium. I remember reading about some concerns regarding its toxicity.
While the amount of vanadium released from implants is generally considered safe, it's still something we need to be aware of. That's why researchers are constantly working on new and improved alloys, like those using niobium and zirconium instead of vanadium. These NZ alloys aim to minimize any potential risks associated with vanadium.
It's like titanium is constantly evolving, becoming safer and more effective. So we've got stainless steel, cobalt, chrome, and titanium.
Yep.
Are there any other metals on our radar?
One more you should know about, especially for challenging cases, is tantalum. It's highly porous, which might sound like a bad thing, but it's actually a huge advantage.
Porous metal, how does that work?
Think of it like a sponge.
Yeah.
It has all these tiny holes that allow bone to grow into it. This makes it fantastic for revision surgeries where there might be bone loss. The bone essentially integrates with the implant, creating a super strong bond.
So it's like building a scaffold for the bone to rebuild itself. I can see why that would be useful in tricky situations. Now, I'm sure the examiners will throw some curveballs about specific materials used in different arthroplasty components.
Oh, for sure.
Can we do a quick review?
Absolutely. For total knee replacements, think cobalt chrome femur, titanium tibia, unless it's a mobile bearing design. In that case, the tibia might also be cobalt chrome.
So more cobalt chrome for more movement, makes sense. What about total hips?
For those, picture a titanium shell snuggled into the acetabulum, a shiny cobalt chrome ball for articulation, and a titanium stem anchored into the femur.
Perfect. That clears things up nicely. We've covered a lot of ground on metals, from their processing techniques to their specific applications in joint replacements. Feeling much more confident about tackling those exam questions now.
That's what we like to hear. We've got a good foundation.
Now, before we move on to the fascinating world of polymers, just a quick reminder that this deep dive is based on the excellent Ortho-Made Simple Notes found on mokyingren.sg. They're a fantastic resource, especially for those gearing up for exams. So definitely check them out. We'll jump into polymers after a short break.
All right, sounds good. Ready to talk about polymers.
Definitely. Polymers always kind of felt a bit mysterious to me. Like they're everywhere in orthopedics.
Yeah.
But I never really grasped all the nuances.
Yeah.
So what should we focus on to ace those exam questions?
Well, the polymer you'll definitely encounter in your exams and in the OR is PMMA, better known as bone cement.
Okay.
And here's the key point. It's not a glue, it's a grout.
Wait, so it doesn't actually stick the implant to the bone? I always assumed it acted like super glue.
That's a common misconception. Bone cement acts more like a space filler, helping to distribute the load evenly and improve the fit between the implant and the bone. Think of it like the grout you use between tiles. It provides stability and prevents things from shifting, but it doesn't actually adhere to the tiles themselves.
Okay, that's a helpful analogy. So what's actually in this bone cement? What makes it set and become so strong?
Bone cement comes as a powder and a liquid that you mix together. The powder contains the polymer itself, along with some other important ingredients, like antibiotics to prevent infection.
Antibiotics in the cement. That makes sense, considering you're putting it right next to the bone. What about the liquid component?
The liquid contains a monomer, which is like the building block of the polymer when you mix the two parts. A chemical reaction called polymerization occurs, causing those monomer molecules to link up and form long chains. That's how the cement sets and hardens.
So it's like a chain reaction, creating a solid structure from those tiny building blocks.
Yeah.
I remember from Dr. Mok's notes that there are different stages involved in mixing the cement, right?
Yeah.
Each with its own specific timings. Can you walk us through that process?
Absolutely. It's crucial to understand these stages because they directly impact how you handle the cement in the OR. You start with the mixing stage, where you combine the powder and the liquid. Then comes the waiting phase, where the mixture starts to thicken.
And that's when you have to be patient, right? I can imagine it's tempting to start working with it too soon.
Exactly. Patience is key here. You need to wait until the cement reaches the working phase, where it has a doughy consistency, perfect for applying and molding. Finally, you have the setting stage, where the cement hardens completely.
So mixing, waiting, working, setting.
Got it. But how do we know exactly when each stage begins and ends? That's where those specific timings come in. Dough time tells you when the working phase begins. You'll know it's ready when the cement no longer sticks to your gloves. Setting time, on the other hand, is the time from the beginning of mixing until the cement reaches its maximum temperature, indicating that it's fully set. And of course, working time is the window between dough time and setting time, the time you have to work with the cement before it hardens.
So you have to work quickly, but also carefully
Yeah.
within that working time window. I'm sure there are a bunch of factors that can affect these timings, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Things like temperature or humidity in the OR.
You're absolutely right. Temperature and humidity play a big role. A warmer OR or high humidity will speed up the setting process, giving you less working time. That's why it's crucial to be aware of these factors and adjust your technique accordingly.
It's like a race against the clock.
Yeah.
Now, what about the cement's strength?
Yeah.
What factors determine how well it will hold up over time?
The strength of the cement depends on several factors, starting with the cementing technique itself. You want to avoid creating any air voids within the cement because those act like weak points, reducing its overall strength.
So no bubbles allowed. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Air bubbles create weaknesses in any structure.
Precisely. And the thickness of the cement mantle also matters. You want to aim for a consistent mantle thickness, making sure it's not too thin or too thick.
Why is consistency so important?
A thin mantle might not provide enough support, while a very thick mantle could increase the risk of complications. Another factor that affects cement strength is porosity, the presence of tiny holes within the cement.
So it's all about creating a solid, uniform structure. How do we minimize those pesky air bubbles and porosity?
That's where vacuum mixing comes in. It's a technique that removes air from the cement during mixing, resulting in a denser, stronger cement mantle.
Vacuum mixing. Got it. It's like sucking out all the weaknesses. Now, besides strength, what other properties of bone cement are important to understand?
Well, it's crucial to remember that bone cement is strong under compression, meaning it can handle those squeezing forces, but it's weaker under tension or shear forces, which involve pulling or twisting.
So it can take a push, but not so much a pull or a twist. That's important to remember
Yeah.
when thinking about how the implant will be loaded in the body.
Exactly. And keep in mind that bone cement is also brittle. It can crack under too much stress, so it's
Yeah.
not as forgiving as some metals.
Okay. It's tough, but has its limits. Now, let's face the reality of complications.
All right.
What are some of the things that can go wrong with bone cement?
You're right. We have to be prepared for potential complications. One of the most serious is cement implantation syndrome, a condition that can happen during or shortly after cementing.
Cement implantation syndrome. That sounds scary. What exactly happens?
It's thought to be caused by fat and bone marrow particles entering the bloodstream and traveling to the lungs. This can lead to a sudden drop in blood pressure, difficulty breathing, and even loss of consciousness.
So it's like a blockage in the lungs caused by those tiny particles. That sounds incredibly dangerous.
It can be, which is why prevention is paramount. The good news is that we have several strategies to minimize the risk.
What are some of the key things we can do to prevent cement implantation syndrome?
First and foremost, meticulous surgical technique is crucial. This includes thoroughly cleaning the bone before cementing, using a cement restrictor to prevent it from traveling too far, and using a suction catheter to control pressure within the canal.
So clean. Contain and control.
Yeah.
That's a good way to remember it.
Exactly. Communication with the anesthesia team is also vital. They need to be ready to manage any changes in the patient's vital signs during cementing.
It's a true team effort. Now, aside from cement implantation syndrome, are there other complications we need to be mindful of?
Yes, local complications are also possible. These can include thermal necrosis, where the heat generated during cement setting damages surrounding tissue, or chemical necrosis caused by the cement itself.
So it's not just about the cement traveling to the lungs, but also about its effects on the surrounding tissues.
Exactly. Another concern is third body wear, caused by any loose cement particles that might be left behind. These particles can wear down the bearing surfaces of the implant, potentially leading to premature failure.
Okay, so it's essential to be aware of both systemic and local complications. Now let's switch gears and talk about the evolution of cementing techniques.
Okay.
Dr. Mok's notes mention different generations of cementing. Can you explain what those are all about?
Absolutely. Cementing techniques have come a long way, and understanding this evolution will help you appreciate the advancements we've made.
What are some of the key differences between those generations?
Well, imagine the early days, where surgeons were hand mixing cement and packing it in with their fingers. Pretty rudimentary.
I can't even imagine. It sounds incredibly messy and imprecise.
It was, but over time, we've moved towards more sophisticated techniques incorporating tools like cement guns for controlled delivery and vacuum mixing to minimize porosity. We've also started using cement restrictors to contain the cement and centralizers to ensure optimal implant alignment.
So it's all about achieving greater precision, control, and ultimately better outcomes for our patients.
That's it.
Now, before we move on to ceramics, I wanted to touch on a few more things related to cement.
Okay.
First, the grading systems used to evaluate cementing technique. Can you explain those briefly?
We use the Gruen zones to describe the location of the cement mantle and the Barrett grading system to assess its quality. The Barrett grading system is based on the appearance of the cement mantle on X-rays, ranging from a perfect whiteout, indicating excellent cement bone contact, to poor grades with gaps and defects in the cement.
So it's like a visual inspection of the cement's performance. Makes sense.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of cement, there's this intriguing thing called the French paradox that I think is worth mentioning.
French paradox.
Yes,
That sounds interesting. What's paradoxical about it?
It's a debate about cement mantle thickness. Traditionally, we've aimed for a thick mantle of at least 2 millimeters. However, surgeons in France have achieved excellent results with a much thinner canal-filling cement mantle.
So both thick and thin mantles can be successful. That's surprising.
It is. The takeaway here
Yeah.
is that there's not always one right way to do things, and both techniques have proven their worth clinically.
That's reassuring. It shows that orthopedics is constantly evolving, and we're always learning and refining our techniques. Now, before we dive into the world of ceramics, just a quick reminder to our listeners that this deep dive is based on the incredible Ortho Made Simple notes you can find on mokyingren.sg. All right, ceramics. I'll admit when I hear ceramic, I think of delicate teacups, not the tough implants we use in orthopedics.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But while both are made of similar elements, the way those elements are bonded in orthopedic ceramics makes them incredibly strong and wear-resistant. Think of it like this. In metals, the electrons are free to roam around, like partygoers mingling at a social event. But in ceramics, those electrons are locked in tight bonds, like dancers holding hands in a carefully choreographed routine. This difference in bonding is what gives ceramics their unique properties.
So it's all about how those tiny electrons are behaving. But how does that translate to real-world performance in, say, a hip replacement?
Those tightly bound electrons make ceramics incredibly strong under compression. They can withstand those heavy loads we put on our joints. But they're also brittle, meaning they can crack or shatter under tension or impact.
So they're strong, but also have a bit of a fragile side. It sounds like a delicate balancing act, how to make sure they can handle the demands of everyday life.
Well, the manufacturing process is key. It's a multi-step process that involves sintering, transformational toughening, and hot isostatic pressing, all designed to maximize strength and minimize those weaknesses.
Okay, lots of technical terms there. Let's break it down. What exactly is sintering?
Sintering is the first step. Imagine you have a bunch of fine ceramic powder. We heat it up to a very high temperature, causing those powder particles to fuse together, creating a solid, dense material. It's like baking a cake. The heat transforms the ingredients into a cohesive structure.
So we're essentially baking the ceramic to make it strong. What about transformational toughening?
Okay.
That sounds pretty intense.
It is. This step is all about making the ceramic more resistant to cracking. We add special particles called tetragonal zirconia to the mix. Now, when a crack starts to form, these zirconia particles act like tiny superheroes. They change their shape and expand, absorbing the energy from the crack and preventing it from spreading. It's like having a built-in damage control system.
So these zirconia particles are like microscopic shock absorbers. That's pretty ingenious. And what about hot isostatic pressing? More heat involved.
You got it. In this step, we apply high pressure and heat simultaneously, squeezing out any remaining air pockets and imperfections. Think of it like giving this ceramic a super intense hug, making it even denser and stronger.
Baking, toughening, hugging. It sounds like the ceramic goes through quite an ordeal. And I remember from Dr. Mok's Ortho Made Simple notes on mokyingren.sg that there are different generations of ceramics, each building on the previous one. Can you tell us about that evolution?
Absolutely. The evolution of biolox, a commonly used ceramic, is a great example. The early generations had some issues with cracking and failure, so we kept improving the process. By the third generation, with hot isostatic pressing, we saw a significant increase in strength and reliability, and the fourth generation introduced even more advanced techniques to further enhance its performance.
So it's like how our phones keep getting better with each new generation. Faster, stronger, more reliable. Now let's talk about the properties of ceramics.
Okay.
What makes them stand out from other materials?
One of their biggest advantages is that they're bioinert. Just like some metals, this means they don't trigger any adverse reactions in the body, minimizing the risk of inflammation or rejection. They also have high wettability, meaning they're good at attracting and retaining fluids.
So they're body-friendly and slippery. That's a winning combination,
Yeah.
especially for those bearing surfaces and joints.
Exactly. That slipperiness helps reduce friction, allowing the joint to move smoothly and minimizing wear and tear. But we have to remember that brittleness is still a factor.
Right. That fragile side we talked about earlier. So how do we assess the wear patterns in ceramic bearings? What should we be looking for?
You'll encounter terms like edge loading and stripe wear. Edge loading happens when the femoral head rubs against the edge of the ceramic liner. It's usually not a major concern, but it's something to be aware of, especially in younger, more active patients.
So it's like the ceramic is getting a bit of a workout at the edges. What about stripe wear?
Stripe wear is a type of adhesive wear that can progress to patch wear. Again, it's typically not a significant issue clinically.
Okay, good to know. It's helpful to be able to distinguish
Yeah.
between the wear patterns that matter
Mm-hmm.
and those that don't. Now, I remember reading about squeaking in some patients with ceramic hips.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a sign of trouble?
Squeaking can be alarming for patients, but it's not always a cause for concern. It can be caused by various factors, including the implant design,
Right.
the patient's activity level, and even the position of the implant.
So if a patient comes in complaining of a squeaky hip, it's not necessarily a red flag.
Exactly. A thorough evaluation is needed to determine the cause and decide if any intervention is necessary. Now, before we wrap up ceramics, there are two more materials I want to touch on briefly.
Okay.
First, oxinium. Have you heard of that one?
Oxinium. Rings the bell, but I need a refresher.
Oxinium is pretty cool. It's basically a metal implant with a ceramic surface, the best of both worlds. And here's a fun fact. It's black.
Black implants. That's definitely unique. So if we see a black implant on an X-ray,
Yeah.
we'll know it's probably oxinium.
Exactly. It's a good distinguishing feature.
Okay. And the last one on our list is hydroxyapatite, or HA. I know it's used as a coating,
Mm-hmm.
but what's the purpose of that?
Hydroxyapatite is a ceramic material that we apply to the surface of implants to encourage bone growth. We use a high-tech process called plasma spraying, where HA particles are basically blasted onto the metal surface at high speeds and temperatures.
So it's not just a simple punk job.
Not at all. It's a sophisticated process that creates a strong bond between the HA coating and the metal implant. This coating acts like a scaffold, attracting bone cells and promoting bone ingrowth, which helps secure the implant in place.
So it's like giving the bone a helping hand to integrate with the implant.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Are there any downsides to using HA coatings?
The main drawback is the cost. HA-coated implants tend to be more expensive, and there's a slight risk that the coating could delaminate or separate from the metal over time, although this is relatively rare.
So like anything else, there are pros and cons to consider. Well, I think we've covered a ton of ground on biomaterials. Feeling much more prepared to tackle those exam questions now.
Me too. And remember, this deep dive was based on the Ortho Made Simple notes found on mokyingren.sg. They're a fantastic resource for anyone preparing for the orthopedic exams, so definitely check them out.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Dr. Mok for putting together such a comprehensive and helpful guide. And to all our listeners out there, best of luck on your exams. Keep learning, keep practicing, and remember that the future of orthopedics is in your hands.